Hello everyone, hope everybody is doing well. If you are new to the channel, please take a look at it, and if you can, please subscribe. Welcome aboard. Now, before I begin, I know that there's a lot of outside noise. This is because right now it's pretty windy here in Las Vegas. We're having temperatures collapse from the 90s, which could become into the upper 40s tomorrow night. So we get these huge winds, these topsy-turvy temperatures, and it feels kind of scary when you think about it, especially when these areas are so dead. And speaking of being dead, in order to try to recover from it, as you know, MGM Resorts is considering free parking, believe it or not, as they begin to open. Now, as you can understand, that the strip economy, depending on how you look at it, is experiencing some level of collapse. The whole establishment, whether it's the economic, political, just a lot of things, is experiencing a lot of dysfunction as a result of this outbreak. And they know that these kinds of pricing, this nickel and diming, is not looking really, really good. And people are just getting sick and tired of it. People just don't have the money like they used to. And not to mention that our economy, our society, is just so dependent on credit, on these low interest rates and what have you. As a result, well, this system is really starting to crumble down. From what I heard, a lot of reports that they're tightening. And, well, guess what? As a result, a lot of the sectors of the economy are basically struggling really, really badly. And it's just really insane when you think about it. What's happened to these properties all these years. All the frustration. People just get scared away, nickel and diming. When people get frustrated, they don't want to spend any more. They just refuse coming. I hear a lot of people, whether it's word of mouth or in the comment section, people keep stressing that, well, we're not wanting to come to this area anymore because it's just not what it used to be. I'm taking my money elsewhere. I used to go there like every year, a few times a year. Now I'm not visiting there anymore. The service has gone downhill. And the sad truth is, the reason why a lot of these hotels have been pumped up is because you have a lot of naive people. The customer, depending on how you look at it, is not as intelligent as they used to be several decades ago. Back in the day, they were just a bunch of couples looking for a quick, easy, affordable getaway. Now it's just like you have a bunch of people going in, spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on nightlife, tables, drinks, and all that kind of stuff. And I guess they realize how naive these people are. We'll just keep gouging prices and get away with it. This is the sad truth of how our economy is pumped up. And as a result, well, we have a lot of this joblessness, and they're starting to realize, well, how do you think people are going to get money to come and visit? These are people who are struggling to put a roof over their head, maybe even food on their table. Look at all of these lines. Many of their employees got laid off, folks. Think about that. You got like 50-60% of people of MGM Resorts, or even more, they got kicked out of employment. And yet we have former CEO Jim Murren that got tens of millions of dollars in total compensation package. You see how he handled the Route 91 situation. You see how he became part of the COVID task force, which really shows how our government works, how shady these people are. And as a result, the company is in serious, serious trouble. They're selling a lot of their properties, believe it or not. And people just don't really want to deal with all these new requirements in order to feel better and healthier. People are just going to get scared away. This is just mind-boggling. This really just doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of what actually truly is functional. So I just got to tell you folks, I think if this really doesn't get solved, I think it's going to be only a matter of time where that these hotels are going to have to soon drop their resort fees if people don't come, depending on how wise they are. And according to many reports I've just heard from the YouTube channel Bull, Boom, Bust, Repeat, a lot of these hotels are not going to be even opening in 2021. I mean, at this point, it's just people are struggling. People can't make ends meet. And it's just that these hotels are closed, all the stress level, everything. People probably are just forgetting about coming to Las Vegas as a whole. I mean, to hell with all this, believe it or not. Let the system just crumble down and maybe we can have an opportunity to really rebuild. Although I have heard reports that, well, what they're trying to do is make these hotels collapse so they can consolidate or let the Chinese buy it up, get some bailout. Who knows? These are rumors, but anything can happen. And speaking of struggling and hotels closing down, which I've heard some station casinos have no plans on opening, let's talk about an area about 90 miles southwest, and that is, of course, the Colorado Belle Hotel and Casino in Laughlin. Now, my personal view of Laughlin, I visited Laughlin in 1998 when I was 6 years old. I sort of remember the Riverside Resort. My family wasn't a big fan of it. You know, the food, just the sightseeing, what it had to offer, the culture of the people. I did visit last year in 2019, the day before I visited the border in Yuma, Arizona. And a lot of people argue that, well, yes, it is certainly cheaper. You get better deals. You can also argue that it's a lot more family-oriented, but it doesn't have the luxury and a lot of the attractiveness, obviously, the Strip has to offer. You can argue the service is better. You can argue there's a river. You can argue that there's a biker culture. But speaking of biker culture, it's important to know that there was a riot that actually occurred in Laughlin, a river run riot among biker gangs. And I don't know about you, but it kind of made me feel like, you know, Laughlin really had its day in the 80s when they had the resort boom. And a lot of people argue it was taking business away from Las Vegas. And believe it or not, they actually wanted to build like a 5,000-6,000 room complex called the Emerald something. Don't remember. And obviously, as a result of the early 90s downturn, the project basically got canceled. So I guess Colorado Belle is not alone. And speaking of downturn, in the 2000s up until around now, I guess, one of the reasons why it's been struggling is simply because of the fact that a lot of people who go visit Laughlin, they generally go there by RV. There's a lot of RV parking areas available. And as you know, since the early 2000s, we had a huge surge in gasoline prices. And one of the results of that is a lot of people just really didn't come to Laughlin as much as they used to. And just looking at all these photos, wow, it looks really, really interesting. So one of the things you also have to keep in mind is a lot of these hotels, they don't do a lot of upkeep. They don't provide a lot of renovations, believe it or not. And I guess they're just meant to fall. Nothing really interesting going on. Laughlin has hardly ever built a new hotel in the last, 20 years or so. So what you got to keep in mind is that could this create a domino effect for Laughlin in terms of all the other hotels? There's a pretty good chance. It's hard for me to see this place become a ghost town, but No, when I was there, I took a little tour of the Harris buffet. They were charging like $22, and it just didn't seem all that interesting. You could go to the Orleans, get a buffet for $20, you get far more. So still, Las Vegas has far better deals than Laughlin, depending on how you look at it, especially outside of the Strip. And this is not just going to hurt Laughlin, it's going to really hurt Bullhead City. A lot of jobs are certainly in stake. Because for some reason, a lot of people who work in Laughlin, they go over the bridge to Bullhead City in Arizona to work. It makes you wonder why. Some people say because so much of the land in Nevada is federally owned, it's probably difficult to build something. You let me know why that is the case. But other than that, thank you guys so much. If you like, please share it, subscribe to this channel, and I'll have more updates to come. Future is certainly looking bright.